You're talking about resettling in Canada.
Why you love me so? I don't know why you bless me, oh.
Welcome, everyone.
What is the reason you died for me? Somebody tell me, 'cause I don't know.
Hey, our guest is here.
Anamnaka oyekewa, ujanatu. Anamnaka anyway, ujanatu. You came to die for me. You are the reason why. Now I can see of your love. Why we glorify. Ebubedike, Agume Chimba. You are marvelous, oh. And you are marvelous, yeah. Oh, oh.
You might need to turn your camera the other way.
I don't know why you love me so. I don't know why you bless me, oh. What is the reason you died for me? Somebody tell me. 'Cause I don't know.
Welcome, everyone. I'm just waiting for our guests to.
You came to die for me. You are the reason why. Now I can sing of your love. We glorify Ebubedike. Agune Chimbang. You are marvelous. Lali, you are marvelous. Yeah. Oh, oh, ah. You are bigger than what people say.
Yes, welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Mentors Show. Like you know, it's the Mentors Show. Let me get my advert up. Just waiting for our guests to realign our camera and we go. So how was your day? Tell me, how has your day been? Your weekend? I know for me it's been busy. Okay. To me it's been busy, but it is what it is. Hey, excellent. Yeah, this is better. Yeah. Let's go. Excellent. Yeah, let's just rotate.
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
Hello, welcome. I'm Dr. Olusola Ajide,
your host on the Mentor Show, where we inspire you, help you reinvent yourself, and make a positive impact in your community, in your country, and on your continent. We mentor people across Africa. We bring you guests with inspiring life stories who are themselves transformation agents, making a positive change in their profession and nations. Subscribe to the African Coaching and Mentorship Initiative YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Yes, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Mentor Show. It's a new year. It's 2025. For those who are our guests tonight, we cannot ask you how was 2024. I hope you reached all the milestones you planned for 2024. Well, for us, part of our milestones for 2024 was our guest. We were here last year, 1st November. We started this conversation, which is actually some people's plan, some people's desire and goal for 2025. And we're just here coming very early in the year to give you those information that would help you achieve and actualize your goals. So again, welcome to the Mentor Show, where we inspire you, where we bring you guests who are transformational agents. And you know, like for those of you who are new in this session today, you've not met our guest. She is a phenomenal lady. Last year, for those who have been here, you've met her before. But we'll just go straight because we have a lot to unpack tonight. And so I'll just yield the floor and say, welcome, Miss Lilia. Happy New Year again.
Happy New Year, Dr. Lushala. Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Excellent. So how was it? How has it been? How was Christmas, settling down? And again, I apologize. You could see I'm guilty as charged. I was asking that we should fix this session during the holiday, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that tells you how my head is thinking.
Yeah. And we're already winding down for the year. So.
For me, it's not winding down. It's just starting. Looking forward to. I'm always having one program like today. I've been in an event since 11 a.m. till in the morning till 4:30, and I'm here. And I was supposed to even have another meeting in South Africa before this one, which it didn't hold. But you see, hey, that's how life is. So welcome everyone. Well, let's dive down into it. Last year, let me give a quick recap. Last year, we talked about when it comes to resettling in Canada, and for those of you on LinkedIn, please, let's have your question. Those of you on Instagram, your questions, and hopefully we'll be able to get our Facebook back. My Facebook was touched since last August, and I've not been able to get that account back. But hey, and those of you on YouTube, let's have the questions, and we'll be able to take those questions. So last year, we discussed about the 4 ways to get into Canada. And you unpacked for us the issue of the express entry route, that people can get into Canada through the express route. And that is through either the Federal Skilled Worker Scheme or through the Canadian Experience Clearance or something like that. Class. Or through the trades, that people can also get into Canada through the trades option. And you also took us to the second one. Another one, there was also the province nomination also. The province nomination can also give you that opportunity to be able to get into Canada. And the second route, which you told us, was a school route, in which people come on in to become a student, and they can be able to do any kind of, but you want on the type of courses they are doing, which if they should not just come and do English language and want to now come and so they need to be careful on that. Then also you mentioned about the issue of entering through the entrepreneur route or business. They come in to start a business and they bring in investment to the country, and they can be able to get opportunity. And the fourth one you mentioned was the agro food pilot, in which they are helping to contribute to the agricultural sector, that there's opportunity for them. Now, there are other things I would have mentioned, but I know anybody who did not who wants more information on that might need to go back to the first session we had. Today we are going deep dive, we are going deeper into areas that, so let me allow you first your response to those points before we go into the new questions we have.
Yeah, so you pretty much covered most of the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
If I can remember, I think I touched on the caregiver program too.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said last year, there are a lot of immigration programs, and this section will not permit us to dive into each of the programs. So I can only touch and highlight on the popular ones. Like I said, from time to time, the Canadian government is always, coming up with different programs, pilot programs. They look at the economy and they see, what other skill sets, what other pathways can we open. And by pilots, they mean this is something they just want to try out and see the response. And then they might either keep it as pilot, or they might make it a permanent immigration stream. So they might come up with a program and say 3 years pilot or 5 years pilot. And from that, transition to permanent programs, immigration programs for people that are interested to come to Canada. I believe some people have submitted their questions, so maybe we can see if we can dive into the questions again.
Okay.
Depending on how the questions are structured, it might have to be a consultation, because anything I see here is tailored to whatever immigration stream is tailored to a particular client. So you might give me your biodata, but I would have more questions, in order to advise whatever immigration stream will be best suited for you.
For that person. Excellent. Now, the first question was has to do with someone who was asking about how did you call it, that there's a new law coming up 1st of February that has to do with what did you call it now? Now, if you're alive, if the person knows himself, he can still just send me the question, right? Because I didn't know how to frame it. I'm trying to assess the same question from my phone, no, okay. I'm not able to do that. I wanted to assess the question from my laptop. It's not allowing me because it has, but I cannot do that on my phone. But the key point, one of the key things is that there is an issue of reduced immigration targets in Canada currently. And how does that affect chances? There's a reduction from 485,000 in 2024 and in 2025. Now, this reduction, would it affect the target of people who want to come into Canada?
Of course, it will affect the target. And that is why I was mentioning last year. I think I used the word several times that the key is strategic. You need to be strategic and you need to be intentional if you want to make Canada your home. Okay? So whatever immigration stream that you are interested, you need to get your documents early. If it's a stream that has not opened, or if it's a stream that they're saying they're going to open on a particular date, you want to ensure that all your documents are ready so that the date it opens up, you're first in queue to submit. Okay. The second one is if you know that it's an immigration stream that it doesn't have like a launch date or an opening date, try and push in your documents and apply for that stream as soon as possible. You don't want to procrastinate. There is no perfect time. Now is the perfect time. Okay, so yes, the government can bring out their targets and they have their genuine reasons for doing so. But again, Canada needs people. And if you want to make Canada your home, then you have to be strategic and be intentional about it.
Excellent. Now, somebody was asking this question earlier about, let me read out exactly what the person said. The person says he or she is 40 years old Now, last time I remember somebody also mentioned on LinkedIn asking that, hey, I'm old. Is there any point? So he's saying I'm 40-year-old holding an MSc in journalism and will be graduating with an MSc in public health. So already one MSc in journalism, now doing public health in April this year from university here in the UK, and he has done his educational evaluation for his MSc in journalism and took the IELTS general with an overall band score of 7. He's asking, is there any option for me? What's the pathway?
So that question is very broad. The profile you've read, you've said about the master's education, person has done credential evaluation, and the person has IELTS bandwidth 7. Again, I would need more details in order to advise the best immigration pathway. Is this person married? What about the spouse? Because there's some immigration programs that will factor in whatever the profile of the spouse. So just ask me what immigration pathway based on what you've told me. I definitely need more details in order to assess and advise.
Okay, now I think one of the things I wanted to even find out from you is common. I've seen it quite a lot of people here because of the career support, which I do. I've seen quite a lot of people having supported over 400 people in the last 6-7 years, and over 200 of them have found employment. The latest person found employment just last week. I've seen this aspect of people having, based on where we're coming from in Nigeria, we think it's certificate. And they're thinking that those certificates can give them opportunity. But when they come into this place, those certificates do not really mean anything. And it's very painful to say to someone that the certificate you have spent time and blood and sweat to earn, does those kind of certificates, do they count? Master's program in journalism, in English or anything, does those things count in the overall scheme of things in Resettle Canada?
So when you talk about certificates, in this instance, when you say masters in journalism, masters in, what was the other one? Public
health, English, project management.
Public health, in English. No, you need to be careful. Not all certificates are weighed the same, especially in the IT sector, right? If you have certification in cybersecurity, most of the certifications are worldwide recognized. So even when you come into Canada, it's recognized. PMP, Project Management Institute, is a global organization. So of course it counts here in Canada. Same thing if you're taking business analyst, CBAP. CBAP is widely recognized. So if you're looking for like a BA, BSc kind of roles, as long as you can speak to the work experience and you can justify the certifications. Now, when you go to other fields like the masters, yes, the masters, first of all, immigration pathway, you will get points for having a master's. If you come into Canada and you want to pursue a career in that field, journalism and public health. A master's sits well on the resume. If you put a master's and then you put in bracket that you did, because remember this master's you got is outside Canada. So if you put in bracket something like you've evaluated with World Educational Services, which is West, and is deemed to be equivalent to a master's degree in Canada. Of course, it sits well in front of the employer, right? So it depends on the kind of certification. Now, when you get to healthcare, for example, healthcare is something that is very dicey. Medicine, nurses. So when you say you're a doctor from back home or you are a nurse, when you come into Canada, it's not as if you're starting from point zero. For every province in Canada, they always have like an organization, that an accreditation body that will look at and evaluate everything that you've done back home, and then look and see if there are gaps. If there are gaps, you would have to address that gaps, because the way we practice medicine in from back home is way different from how medicine or nursing is practiced here. So they will give you like a pathway. If it's education that you're missing, there's a pathway for you to upgrade and upskill in those areas that you have fall short. Or they might tell you have to do some clinicals or work experience to bring or internship to bring yourself up to speed, and then you still have to challenge the national exam here. You're not just going to be able to say, I did nursing, and as soon as I get into Canada, I'm going to start practicing as a nurse. No. So there's some provinces that are a little bit lenient in the way they would evaluate your foreign nursing degree from back home compared to other provinces, right? So you just need to be strategic if you want to get into the market and start practicing as a nurse. As for example, you need to be strategic. Okay, what kind of province am I going to? What is the processing time, the earliest time I can start practicing? What do I need to do and upskill myself? I mean, you don't even need to be necessarily in Canada before you even start the process. You can be in your foreign home country, start contacting the accreditation body in that province that you're interested in going to, and they can, go back and forth and tell you, okay, this is what you have, this is what you're missing, if you're interested, and then you can start. You don't necessarily need to come into Canada to start the process.
Now, I remember the question the person asked, but before the question, there was the information that there is a reduction, even though I know you might want, and I assume or I guess what you are going to respond, but I'll still ask anyway. There is the fact that the provincial nominee program also, there's a reduction in the quota. Would that affect the application of somebody? So if the person, like you mentioned, a particular province, and now there's a reduction in quota in provinces that you are applying to, how would that impact the chances of the person being successful?
No, I don't want you to be bogged down about quota and targets, right? And I'll give you an example. In the midst of everything, there's reduction. Ontario, for example, just opened a new immigration pilot program, right? So if you're saying, oh my God, there's a reduction, of course, if there's a reduction, it means that when they meet that quarter till next year, right, they're not going to admit more people into that immigration pathway or stream. The key word I need everyone to take away from today's session is, if you are interested in making Canada your home, you need to start early. You need to start early in order to meet up, so you can get selected before the quarter, before they reach the threshold of that quarter. Okay? Canada needs immigrants. So, and there's a reason why they are reducing, and this reduction is not going to be forever. It's just to fix certain things that are going on right now in the economy.
Now the question, thanks Babatunde Olanipeku on LinkedIn. I could see you have cyber security. If you are interested, if you have any question regarding you, these are the kind of people you were just talking about now, that those who have this kind of certifications, they have opportunity in Canada. The question the person was asking me was about this. There's the new route of healthcare professionals. That those who have healthcare professionals, there's a new law or opportunity that started maybe today, that they can be able to use that to relocate to Canada. I don't know where the person got the information from, but that's the question the person was asking. So
I know what the person is asking. So I think I mentioned it last year. It's under the caregiver program. Okay. So caregiver program is something that has always been in existence in Canada for a long time. It's either you come in to care for children or you come in to care for seniors. Over the years, that program has been revamped. They might change the name. They might change, move one or two things around. At a time, they called it the living caregiver, meaning that you have to live in the employer's home. But because of abuse, it has always been in existence. Now, what happened for the past 5 years that they opened another stream of caregiver, and then they ran it for 5 years pilot program. So at the end of 5 years, they came to assess how did the program go. Did it really help Canadians? Was it really helpful? Is it worth keeping, or should we scrap that immigration stream? And then they decided that it was worth it, and they were going to make it a permanent immigration program. Having said that, they announced last year that they were going to open up a new stream of the caregiver program, but more details were going to be announced before the end of 2024. Unfortunately, they did not make any announcement. They only gave a highlight, and the highlight was a reduction in English language. So before, you needed to have higher marks in your listening, speaking, reading, writing. They wanted it to make it easier for caregivers to transition into permanent residence, because they were getting feedback from the people that had passed through the caregiver program in the past, right? And some of them had complained that, they come here, they take care of people, but then they cannot either pass English or transition properly to become a permanent resident of Canada. So they made some announcement and made some tweaks, but they said the official date will be announced. And that's what they didn't announce it last year, but they announced it early this year. And they're saying the launch date will be March 31st, 2025, not February. March 31st, 2025. The only thing that we know as of date is just saying that more details will be communicated shortly. So we don't even have the full details of what that program entails. The key thing that we know about that program is you need to get a job offer. You need to get a job offer, and it must be home care, meaning that you're coming to take care of kids, or you're coming to take care of seniors in a home. Okay, so the other thing that we know is the flexibility. So before, when you under the caregiver program, when you get when you get a job offer from your employer, your work permit was tied to that employer. So now just say they're going to make it more open, so that the person, the worker, can have the flexibility to work for the employer that gave him or her the job offer, and also work in other places. So the third thing they've announced is granting permanent residency at the port of entry when the caregiver comes into Canada. But again, they've not said how it's going to work. So they just said more details will come shortly, so everyone is watching out. But they've announced the official launch, which is March 31st.
Interesting. And that's when you said that now, it rejigged my memory. That was what the person was asking. Health caregiver professionals at the point of residency, at the point of entry. But I was just thinking about the question how that would work, because considering the fact that the person you are giving permanent residency, how are you going to in fact maybe watch their own back, because people might want to abuse it. How do you justify the years of experience, except if it's in the West, where you know that you can quickly do a check?
Yeah, so that's the thing, that's why this announcement that was announced last year, and they said, more details. It's possible that they're going to tweak one or two things where the full details come out. But as of today, this is all we do. Like you rightly said, because in the past, when you come in as a caregiver, there's a certain number of hours you must fulfill before you can start your permanent residence application. But now you say you're granting a permanent residence at the port of entry. How is it going to work? So those are some of the concerns a lot of us have. But some of us feel that when the full ministerial instructions regarding this program come up, there might be some tweaks that would contradict some of the things that were announced last year. So we don't know yet. We just have to wait.
Interesting.
But in the meantime, that does not stop somebody. If you're interested in the caregiver program, you can start. The first thing you need, we already know, you need a job offer. We know that that's not going to, go off the table. So you can start taking steps to start looking for how you're going to get job offer in Canada, right? Because without that, the second thing is now we know that the official date is March 31st, 2025. It's not just opened. There's going to be a quarter to it. In the past, they will say under the caregiver, if you're coming for the home child care under the caregiver, they might give a number. They might say, oh, I'm just using a number there, like from top of my, they might say 2,500. And then for the home support worker, they can say 2,750, right? So you need to be strategic to, if you know that this is something that is of interest to you, you have to get all your documents ready so that by March 31st, the launch date, you are first in line to submit. In the past, once they open on that date, within a few hours, the quota is reached. So
now,
you need to be strategic.
Let's try and help these people, at least with your years of experience. And I know that this is just trying to make it easier for them. Let's say in this hypothetical situation, what are some of the documents or some of the things that somebody must have that would increase their chances? Or for something that they're coming from the West, maybe this person is coming from the UK. So the UK does have similar, not too different relationship or different environment to Canada. So what are the things, for example, that the person can at least to put in on that particular day to say, okay, I'm in. And it's just as a bit of opening up. I know that it might not be everything, but at least you can just, the person needs to come for consultation, for you to do the assessments of the person, assessment of this particular person, himself and the wife are even in the care industry. So they already have 2 years, 1 year in the care or other thing. So what are other things they need to have? Then, if they now want to be serious to meet March is still 25, so they have 1 month. They have 1 month and some weeks so they can begin to work towards. They now come and meet you for consultation in which you'll not be able to help them with the paperwork.
Yeah, for sure. The first thing, like I said, the key thing is you need a job offer. So you need a job offer in home care from a Canadian employer. So that's the first thing. Two, it's good they have work experience, like in this instance you just painted. So what kind of work experience is it, right? I've seen a lot. Some people submit resume and say, oh, they worked in, without diving into details, the work experience has to make sense and has to fall under the class
of where they are
the caregiver, the kind of caregiver program that they're talking about. They want to see a form of education that is related to the caregiver. So basic things, CPR, first aid, those kind of certifications. They need to be sure that if you're caring in somebody's home, the parents are not around, you should be able to administer basic CPR first aid before 911 gets to that place. If it's that instance where they have to rush someone to the hospital, then again, they need to see IELTS, proof of English. Yeah, I think those are the core main things.
I remember that all of us, many years ago, while I was in Nigeria, I wanted to come to Canada. And I met a Canadian consul who was a member of my church. The guy was a big top shot. And I had a meeting with him, and he asked me, what's your salary? And I told him. And he said, you're not going to get it. So, and I shouldn't bother about applying to Canada. This is more than 15 years ago now. So, in all of these applications, is there any place of salary, what the person is earning here in the UK, does that count into what is used to do the polling or to opportunity, or does the amount of money you are earning out in your previous job, does it count to all these things we are discussing?
The amount of money you're earning in your previous job does not count, and it does count. Let me explain myself. So, for example, if you want to come to school in Canada, you already know that coming to school would require a significant amount of funds, right? So, for example, who is going to be sponsoring your education? Are you the one, or do you have sponsors? Is it your parents? They need to see bank statements, right? And they need to see tangible amounts of money that can cover that tuition, that can cover that living expense. Are you coming alone, or do you have kids that's going to be minor kids that are going to be accompanying you? If you have minor kids that are going to be accompanying you, then it's not the same amount of money that a single person is showing in their bank statement. That's not the same amount you are going to show. You will need more money, right? That's what. Under express entry, for example, skilled worker, there is proof of funds requirements, meaning you need to show bank statements, and the proof of funds, I cannot tell you is a certain amount because the way it is structured is based on the size of your family. So if you're just a single person coming here, the amount of funds the government requires you to have in your bank statement is separate if your family size is 4. Family size of 4 means father, mother, and 2 children, right? So there's a chart. And so they also want to see how did you get those funds. So there's a chart and it shows one family size is 1, this is the amount you should have. Family size is 5, this is the amount you have. So there's no manipulation, or nobody can tell you, okay, if you have this, no, there's no bargain, there's no last price. Let me come back. So that's the chart that the government works with. Now they say that the money cannot be borrowed. It's funds that have to be accumulated. So, and if there is lump sum in your bank account, so when they say it's accumulated, meaning you need to be able to demonstrate, okay, I work and I've been able to save, I've been saving over time, or I'm a business owner and I sell things, and from time to time my customers, so this funds are hitting this account, and that's how the money accumulated. If there's any form of lump sum in the account, you need to be able to provide a tangible explanation. For example, maybe you sold the property, and now those were the proceeds from the sale, so that's why that lump sum is hitting your account. Or maybe you got an inheritance, stuff like that. So it's not per se like they're looking at your salary to say, oh, you earn what Naira, you cannot come to Canada. No, it's true. The immigration streams that you're coming through, there might be funds requirements, and the only way you're going to be able to demonstrate that is through bank statements. Or if you say you're a student and the sponsor is sponsoring you, for example, what does the sponsor do? Is he an engineer? Is he working? They want to see proof of, in Canada, whatever you say verbally, you need to back it up with documents. Yeah, the same thing too. You want to come and start a business in Canada. It's not the same. It's not a small amount of money they're looking for, right? Come start a business. So how are you getting that money? What is your net worth? So those are things they're looking at. So it's not per se like, oh, I earn 2 million, I can't come to Canada, or yeah.
Now let me go back. There were some people that consulted that wanted to come to the UK, and from UK come to Canada. Some believe. There are 2 questions there, but let's ask this question: is it possible that someone says, "So I want to come to the UK"? And from the UK, I like that it's easier for me to come from the UK. Is that real, or is it a myth?
I've heard that a lot. I don't know what they mean by easier. If they talk about processing time, yes, because processing time per application. So the processing time varies per application and varies per country. Okay, so, and this processing time is not fixed. So we might look it up today, and the processing time is a certain amount of days, and then you might look at it 2 weeks' time, and they've amended or revised that date. But some countries, we have a shorter turnaround time to hear back when they send an application than other countries. So when they say easier, I guess that's what they're implying. But it doesn't mean that, if you go to the UK and if you submit a bad application, they're going to refuse regardless of whatever country you're submitting from. If the officer is not convinced about the intention, about your intention and how your intention suits that program, they're going to refuse that application regardless of the country.
Okay, thank you. Now, I have the case of this person, and they're not people that actually have education. When I mean education, they might have had a master's or a BSc, but in Nigeria, where they are actually running a business. There was a case of somebody who actually runs he sells a distribution of alcohol. So it means he has a business, a going concern, and now wants to relocate. You get the point now. I've had somebody inquire, even somebody again who actually is running a business in Nigeria but wants to relocate. Now the business they are doing is the business of maybe selling household items, selling like this person, this case of the person I'm telling you, and they're looking for opportunity. Is there any route for those kind of people?
Okay, this is a broad question. Yes, I will need more details, but just to answer your question generally, now, that you're running a business does not mean, I'll just make an example. That you're running a business does not mean that you will not fit under express entry, right?
Okay.
Because under express entry, yes, you're running a business, but you're demonstrating that you have, let's say, you're the owner of the business, you're demonstrating that you have managerial skills. So you can get points, and you can get points on the kind of managerial position and title and functions and role that you have played in your company. But again, I'll need more details, like what's the person's age. You said the person doesn't have education in Nigeria, but the person has education in the UK. It doesn't matter, right? That's what you said.
No. These people are not like the people that actually go to school. They went through apprenticeship, in getting their business. It's not maybe they went to school. So
okay, so there's no official, like they have like a diploma.
Yes.
Or okay, I see what you mean. So there are certain immigration streams that will ask for education. One is express entry, and there's some that might not necessarily have ask for education, right? Does this person have enough funds to come through the entrepreneur stream? Even under the entrepreneur stream, there's some that will still ask for education. Yeah, there's some that will still have. I'll have to take a deeper dive. Is this person married?
Yep.
If the person does not have the education, what about the spouse?
Okay.
Where does the spouse stand? Because sometimes if you, as a principal applicant, don't have the skills, you can get some points from your spouse.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So again, I'll need more details. It's just tough to...
Now, one of the challenges that people face when they come to the UK, at least from the UK, I know, is the fact that when you work in Nigeria, you pay money. You have your house is yearly. It's not monthly. One of the first shock for anyone.
Yeah.
Now, with the case of the current challenge of housing in market in Canada, rising costs and limited availability. How would somebody coming in, how would they settle and fit in into the...
The people here surviving. Yes, so, and that is why you have to be strategic. There's some provinces that are more expensive than others. It's just like in Nigeria. You don't necessarily have to live in Lagos, but there are other states that are way cheaper, right? So there's some provinces that are way cheaper than others, that have a lower cost of living. Yes, they might not pay as much as, the bigger provinces. So, but the cost of living to get accommodation is cheaper. Again, a lot of, for example, say you want to come here as a student a lot of people have looked for ways to survive. So rather than taking, they can take a property and then they share it with a friend or schoolmate, in order to minimize the cost of their living expenses. So that's an option. Even aside students, even like young couples, they do that too. Like they'll take a house and then they'll share it among themselves, to minimize the cost of living. But again, there are people living here. The provinces that are more expensive than others, so you don't have to live in the most expensive province to make it in Canada. They are way cheaper province.
Okay. Now, the aspect of public health service capacity. Now, in fact, here in the UK, a particular person, most of the people that came out of the Nigeria into this place, they were the middle class. Those who do that part, they were people who were in Nigeria. In fact, one of them, I think, they had 4 vehicles in Nigeria, and the children were asking, where are we going on the bus? we had 4 vehicles. And in fact, they asked the issue of healthcare, the strain on the healthcare. And this person was saying, is it not as if he's been scammed because he's not been able to get any medical appointment. He's not been able to get a GP. He is sick. That particular person was actually sick. And there was no, when they called the GP, they said, there's no opportunity, there's no time, we may call again. And the person was saying, hey, I still said, I'm dying here. It's as if I've been scammed to come to the UK. So how do we tackle this issue of integration into the Canadian, public life?
Healthcare?
Yeah, healthcare. When based on the people in the system is strained and they are coming in. What are the options there, please?
So the good thing about Canadian healthcare, as long as you're a permanent resident minimum, we have free healthcare. So when you come in here, you give it a healthcare card, and with that you can access any walk-in clinic. Again, if you need to have family doctor, there are ways to get a dedicated family doctor to handle your case. You have to watch out for family doctors that are accepting new patients. But in the meantime, you have access to clinics. If you're fortunate and you get a job, you can also, because your health card only covers certain things. So going to see the doctor, that is covered by your health card. But if you have to buy prescription medications, that would have to come out of your pocket. But there's some people that get jobs and their employer gives them additional, so they get additional benefits through their employer. So with that, they can go to any pharmacy and just show their card, and they get reduction in the cost of those prescription medications. So that's for permanent residents. Even there's some promises that as long as, even when you're a student, you get like a temporary, they give you like a temporary card that you can use to access healthcare. And they've already embedded it in your tuition. So that is covered. But the health card covers like a good number of services. Say you're pregnant, covers delivery, covers setting, like basic things. You want to see a doctor, you're not feeling fine, kids are not feeling fine, but there are some exclusions. Say it doesn't cover eyeglasses, for example, it doesn't cover dental. Those would be extra things, right? Again, having said that, I know that there are some provinces that it takes a long time for you to get your own dedicated family doctor. But in the meantime, you still have services, like you still have clinics you can go to, and you will get help pending when you get that dedicated family doctor, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Now, one of the challenge, which at least I'm talking now from the aspect of the people I've dealt with when it comes to career in the UK. Like I was still speaking to someone in which back in Nigeria they were working in the banking industry. Now the person came here to do cybersecurity, did cybersecurity, but now the person has gotten a care job, and the care job has given sponsorship. So the care job is when they're working in care. The experience of working in care here. My question is: these are different experiences, if you like.
Yeah.
And how does that support or lead credence if they want to translate to Canada?
You can't be jack of all trades, right? So if you know that kind of person, you know you want to come into Canada, you see a provision or mini program, for example, they say they are looking for IT people, then you better be trying to be strategic to get into that IT space. Healthcare, for example, is one of those fields that it's always a skill in demand. So if you say, you know what, I'm just going to tap into healthcare, get into there, and then over time navigate into my first love, which is IT, cybersecurity, that is totally fine too.
So it's a, but now when it comes to this issue of translation to Canada, one of the things I think which everybody does not look at is financial planning. Because it's key. We've had issues of somebody coming into the UK and all the person had remaining was £400.
Yeah.
And they asked, they said, I don't have any other thing again. And even in this issue of relocating to Canada, I assume, I don't know, I'm not saying I know, I assume, sometimes, you know, where we are coming from, there's this mentality of when we get to that bridge, we're going to cross it.
Cross it.
And it's a common, it's as if it's cultural to us. How do we overcome this? Because people came in here and they didn't have a place to sleep. They didn't have money. They didn't have anything. In fact, some were taking children to school, to classroom. Some were sleeping on campus.
Yep.
So this, I want to look at this of financial planning. What kind of money? I know it's just a hypothetical solution now, because I know that when people came in here, they were living outside. They didn't have a place to go to. They have only this. I only came. I only have, because they were told that, oh, don't worry, when you get there, people will help you. People will support you. Is that real in Canada?
See, the scenario you're painting is not exclusive to the UK. It happens a lot here, even in Canada. Even it's sad, even in our community, you see people sleeping in front of the stores. People are homeless. A lot of people are homeless. And it boils down to financial planning. When you ask the question, how much should someone exactly have, is a tough question. And I will explain myself. When you say you're coming to school here, for example, the tuition varies. If I'm a science student versus if you're an art student, our tuition will vary. And the amount of money that, there's no set amount of money that I should have in my bank account, but they need just whatever amount you showed in your bank statement should be able to cover minimum 1 year of your tuition plus living expenses. Okay. Of course, the higher the funds in your accounts convinces the visa officer that finances is not an issue. Because trust me, there will be times where people will come here and resort to these food banks because they don't have money to even get food. And there was a time it was so rampant that that the Canadian government had to step in and start putting policies. So when you see them putting rules, it's because of what they've gone through. There was a time, bank statement was just sufficient, but then they found out that people were forging bank statements. They now said, you know what, we're going to come up with a strategy that you submit the paper, you submit a digital copy of the bank statement. You also do what is called an e-bank statement, where we would have a code and we will go check ourselves if that fraud is there. There's some people that would borrow money and put in their accounts. As soon as they submit the application, they withdraw the money. But and again, there's some people that when the application is approved, they give everybody back their money and then they're coming to Canada with little or nothing. So that's when they started stopping people at the port of entry and they would tell you, can you log into your bank account? Let's see the funds you have. Because instead you come in as a student and when you submitted your application, you claimed you have this amount of money. So when you see them changing and asking for so much, it's because of the experience they've gone through. Now, your living expenses as an international student, now they want it sitting in a Canadian account called GIC before you even start coming. And you would include a copy of that GIC receipt as part of your study permit application. So it's one of the requirements. So it's just because it was never like that. So it's just, and that is separate from the money you're going to show from your Nigerian account that is going to cover your tuition. Again, you have to pay a substantial amount of school fees to the school and get the receipt and attach it to your study permit application. Okay, so if, for example, your tuition for 1 year is 15,000 Canadian dollars, if you can pay the 1 year 15,000, it's great. But they want to see, if you cannot, then they want to see at least minimum one semester you've paid, and then you better be showing bank statements of substantial amounts that will cover your tuition. Again, your living expenses should be sitting in a Canadian GIC account. So they will look at all that because of stuff like you just explained, because of people now saying they are homeless and they want to start depending on government to take care of their basic needs.
Now, what's a GIC? Is that bank account in Canada or in your home country?
It's a bank account in Canada, but you can open it online.
Oh, it can be opened, and so you transfer money into that account, and you can only access the funds when you arrive in Canada.
In fact, they will even give you the full funds, yes. So you can only access the funds when you get into Canada, but again, that money is supposed to be your living expense. So it's something that was structured with the government and the bank. So they've calculated the amount you need per month for your living expense, so they will give you that amount per month. Because they know that they can give you that full amount and you go refund the money back to whoever loaned you that money. So they'll give you over a year.
So it's not as if maybe you get into Canada and you withdraw all the amount of money. So you're not allowed, you are restricted to the amount of money. So it's more like wow. It's quite challenging. Now, when it comes to the issue of documentation and legal requirements, quite a lot of people have challenges with this issue of documentation and making mistakes and legal requirements. In fact, yesterday somebody called me here and said that they were doing an extension and the person ticked. Now, this is supposed to be staying as a student, the 2 years that is given for you to stay in the country. But the consultant who did it for them went to tick that they are still a student. So that means automatically that application becomes a fail. Now, I don't know, but I believe that in your case, because you are the consultant, you are the knowledge, so it means you've gone ahead, you know all that is required to provide the legal documentation, the proper documentation for them to school. So for those of you who are online tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we still have our guest, the consultant, Miss Lillian. and she's been in Canada. And interestingly, she still have other areas of specialty which we've not focused on. And she's still unpacking this issue of it's possible for you to achieve your dream of relocating to Canada legally and in a right way. Not to consult those apologies for using this word, those quack consultants. I was on TikTok some months ago, and somebody was relating a story. It was challenging a particular consultant in Nigeria, and this consultant was saying, "Oh, you can go to this place, you can go to," and she asked that person, "Have you even traveled out of the country?" That person says no. Says, so sometimes, because of the issue of this rush and we're not doing our due diligence, we fall prey into the hands of quacks, and you expose you and they dupe you. There's still the story online of somebody who duped somebody of £10,000, and they're still trying to recoup that money because of not this issue of due diligence. So we are saying tonight that Miss Lillian Yamabo, we've done our own due diligence. You can check our number on the register of consultants permitted by the Canadian government, and that should give you an element. And for us on the Mentor Show, we've done our due diligence, and that's why we are able to bring her on the show, because if anything happens if you register with her, you will say, "Oh, it's us that brought us to you." So we've done our due diligence, and we are assuring you that it's possible if you have all that it takes and you are willing to do the right thing, because there's no hanky-panky here. There's no bending the books or anything. You have to be able to provide all that is required. You have to be able to do. And please note, it's not pro bono. It's a job, because it's a time, for in the West, you are paid per hour. You are paid per hour. The number of hours you're going to choose. Like I told somebody, here in the West, your bills are on autopilot. So if the bills are on autopilot, the consultant want to be double sure know that when I'm doing something, it's counting to my autopilot bill that I need to pay. Can you speak to this aspect of change in mindset? A lot of people don't know what the difference. They think it's just plug and play. The way I lived in Nigeria is the same way I'm going to live when I get to Canada. Is there anything you can help to give people an understanding of how it is to live in the West?
Oh yeah, sure. So the first thing I advise people is you need to know your why. In the first place, why you live in your home country, and you have to have a strong why. You're looking for a better life for your family, for your kids, and so it's that why that would be in your mind to pursue and adjust as necessary. For example, if you were someone in Nigeria that studied environmental science, for example, I'm just thinking, it's not that I have anything against people that study environmental. I'm just using that as an example. You want to come into Canada, right? And you see on the list of in-demand occupations, they are looking for people, right? You need to be flexible. Are you willing to adjust so you can get into the numbers? Number two, you need to look for a niche. If you see that everybody is going right, and now that area is going to become flooded, why not look at the stream that a lot of people are not willing to jump on board? And I'll use an example, the Francophone. Oh, I've heard some people saying, "Oh, I can't go and start learning French. It's too difficult. Even the English I've been speaking, I've not even gotten high score and everything." If you are in the express entry pool, for example, and you see that your scores are not that high for you to receive an invitation to apply for permanent residence, you better start looking for options. If not, you're going to be stuck in that pool. And after 1 year, your profile will expire, so you would have to create another profile. So
that that new profile, would it be new money or what?
No. When you get into the pool, you don't pay anything. You
Okay.
get into the pool, it's free. Once they select you, then you start submitting documents, and then you pay application fee and all that.
Okay.
But the point I'm trying to make here is, if you're not getting a job offer, you're not getting a provision, nomination, you're not getting something that would boost your score, rather than sitting out there, maybe that would be a perfect time for you to go learn French, for example. And now nobody's expecting you to get the highest bandwidth in French. Just try your best, whatever's called. Just try your best to do good, and then that will boost your score in addition to your English, because now you're now saying you're bilingual, right? Yeah, and there are communities, there are places that are always looking for French people. There are times where they even give currency to people that speak French, right? So again, you need to be strategic. Again, the way we live back home is totally different than the way we live here. And it will definitely be a shock. Even starting from school, the way we school back home, a lot of times you're just memorizing to pass and get grades. Over here, it's not a matter of memorizing. They teach you to know. And there are a lot of assignments, a lot of projects, because they believe that by embarking on those projects and assignments, it would trigger you to learn more, to investigate, to do some research by yourself, rather than me as an instructor just dumping everything on your plate. So that is that about schooling. Even the way we work, right? I've heard someone say, back home, I'm supposed to resume at a certain time. I can just come late and get away with it. I can leave early, and I'll still get my full pay. It doesn't work like that in this part of the world. You're expected to be at work 8:30, 9 o'clock. You better be showing up. If you are ill, if something comes up, an emergency, you don't just keep quiet. You better be communicating to your manager to say, unfortunately, I can't come to work today, blah, blah, blah. If you need an extended time off from work, you better be going through the right channel with your employer to take the proper permissions so that your employer can grant it to you, rather than disappear and just think that you will just appear and everything will be fine. Again, the times people say, they get their... Okay, so if in a particular month back home, your salary is certain amount of I've heard people say they don't deduct the days I was absent, they give me my full pay. It doesn't work like that here. The days you were off, except you have vacations to cover those days, and depending on how your employment is structured with your employer, otherwise they'll be deducting those days you did not work, and that will affect your pay for that month. Yeah. I've also heard some people say, back home, as long as I beg my landlord, I can be paid. There's nothing like that here. At the end of the month, whatever amount is negotiated, you better be paying that money. But in fact, because a lot of landlords are depending on your funds to pay their mortgage, if your money is due first, that money should better be hitting their accounts with on the scheduled date. Otherwise, it will affect their own portion of mortgage that they're going to pay to the bank. And that is why these days you see a lot of landlords doing lots of scrutiny, because they know it's easier to place a tenant into a house, but to kick them out is more difficult, because back home you can just throw them out, but over here it doesn't work like that. You have to go to landlord and tenant board. That's going to take a whole process, and during that time that person will be living free in your house. So before they resolve everything, it might take 4 to 6 months. So they do a lot of scrutiny. They want to check, do you have full-time job? They want to call your employer. They want pay stub. They want to see your credit score. They want to determine your credibility, and you start wondering, is it not just a rent house? I'm not buying this house now. Why are they asking me a lot of documents? It's because the landlords have seen a lot, and they know that if you default, it's going to take a lot from them. Before they can kick you out, it's going to take a whole process. So you see landlords coming up with different strategies to ensure that, end of month they get their funds. You need to be, when you come into this country, you need to be conservative. You need to know how you're going to spread your funds, because over here, like for most of the jobs, we are paid bi-weekly, right? So you need to structure yourself in such a way that you're doing your budgeting right. This percentage of money is for grocery. This percentage of my salary is going towards my living as expenses, like my accommodation, emergencies, because you can wake up one day, car will not start. It's already very cold, so you need to figure that out. And again, you need to be saving. I'm not talking about putting it in one savings account. You need to be doing some form of investment, that can help you in the future. It's not right that you just live paycheck to paycheck and expect that all will be well, because that job, anything can happen. You might think you're the best employer, but tomorrow your employer can come up with one story that they're downsizing. What are you going to do in that instance? Life can happen. You can become pregnant and you have to take maternity leave. You need to structure yourself in such a way that for that time being that you cannot work, or you want to bond with your child, you have sufficient funds to take care of yourself and your newborn. Yes, we have the privilege for the most part. We have the privilege here in Canada. If you're working for an employer, you can either take a 12 months, a 1 year, or an 18 month maternity leave. I know in Nigeria it's not like that. And again, depending on the kind of employer you work for, they also provide benefits during that time that you're on maternity leave. Some will say they'll pay 60%, 70%, 90% of whatever your regular income was before you became pregnant. And you might say they will do that for 6 months. You also have government benefits too that will pay you every month. And then you and your spouse, on the other hand, have the opportunity to take paternal leave too. So we have some benefits here, but the key that I'm trying to say is you need to be strategic with your finances. You need to budget accordingly. The times everything is becoming very expensive. You go to the grocery, before things that you used to pay for $150 before, now you pick, and before, by the time you go to the counter, it's $350, $500, and you're like, all my paycheck is gone. So you need to be, even when you're buying things, you need to be strategic. So are there other stores you can get things cheaper? Are there like wholesale stores? Like, I don't know if you guys have Costco in UK, where you can buy things in wholesale, especially if you have a big family. That can help in the cost too. If you are the kind of person that maybe you have a job that is far from your home, and you're thinking, oh my God, driving every day to work, is carpooling an option, like a cheaper option, where instead of you driving your empty car, maybe there are people that are going the same route. They can help with you, and you can charge them a fee, or you can carpool with others. So you just have to be strategic and again, when you're in this country, you cannot just rely on one job. Even if you have a full-time, you must always have I don't want to call it side hustle, but you must also have something else that you are doing, something else that is bringing income. If it's a passion, how can you monetize that passion? If you're someone that enjoys walking dogs, how can you monetize that so that can bring extra income, even if that is an income that will just be going into an account that you would invest in ETFs, in stocks, in whatever, or you are saving it to put as a down payment to buy real estate. You need to be doing something. If you have a home, if you are so blessed that you bought your home, and you have a space that you are not using, can you rent out that space to bring additional source of funds? You have a basement, you have a studio that you can rent out to a student or a young couple that can bring extra funds for you, rather than just occupying that big house and just doing big man there and saying I have a big house. A lot of things, something else I really want to address, and it's so unfortunate, but I just have to say, our community is one that we like to show we are big, have arrived. You want to showcase you have arrived. I don't know who you are trying to prove or what you're trying to prove. And it's sad because I've seen a lot of people run into situations that they shouldn't have even been in the first place. You come into this country, you hear that, oh, you don't have, okay, there's this car you've been admiring, for example, and now you've heard, oh, I don't need to have the full amount of money to buy that particular latest car. Now, you know that, oh, by the time I drive and I even reach my friends out, they will know that I've arrived. Or by the time I get to church, and the way I will just park in front, they will know that, yes. It's a loan. It's a loan. It's basic. Anyhow you want to say it. Even if they give you that loan, it's going to, every month you're expected to pay that amount. I'm not saying loans are not good. Make the loans manageable. You know, you don't have to, if you have the funds, that's fine. But I'm targeting those people that they go way out of their wages to make a point, you know. I look at your income, you're not making that great money, and you're driving a very expensive car, and every month you have to take a substantial amount of money to pay that car loan, right? And now it has resulted, sometimes you have to default because those are the kind of people I'm addressing, right? So you have to know how to manage your finance. You don't need to prove to anybody. As long as you're managing your finances and you know that, you know, you're doing the best for yourself and your family and your kids, those are the people that you're accountable for. You don't need to prove to anybody, regardless of if that person is older or younger, or you were classmates with that person. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's all vanity. It's whatever you're able to pass on to your kids, ensure your family is living a good life. That's all that matters.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, I know we already spent 1 hour. You cannot be already 17 minutes past what we plan to do. And there are still 2 key things I wanted you to speak to, and they are critical. The first one is credit score. People don't understand what's a credit score. And if you're in the West, those are critical things. Because like you mentioned earlier, somebody getting missing payment, that's already affecting things. So can you speak to, maybe because of time, I'll just put the 2 of them together, you speak to them, the importance of credit score and how, you know, that's 1. 2 is the issue of weather. Now, imagine somebody staying and living in Abuja, Nigeria, or which you can have maybe 37, 40 degrees, very hot, and they are used to that sweating and everything, or somebody living in Lagos or anywhere or in Nigeria, and now they come to Canada and it's 14 degrees minus 14 degrees, and they are wondering what kind of life have I, like somebody was saying the other day, who did I offend? So how do people, so these 2 things, credit score and the issue of weather. There are other issues, but I think we just wrap up on those for today.
Yeah, so credit score, yes, that's not something we use back home because you want to buy a property, you got to gather your money, whatever can build the foundation, you start from that, right? But because of the way houses are in Canada, so almost most of the time, you don't have the full money to purchase a home. So, I'm just using purchase of home as an example, but we have to borrow funds from the bank. Of course, you have to have some funds before you can go to the bank to borrow. The bank that is borrowing that money, or the lender, wants to be sure that you're credible and you can pay this amount, you know, in time. And the only way they can know is through what we call credit. It's a measure of your finances. It's a measure of your financial creditworthiness.
Yes, the health, you know, healthiness of your credit, that you are financially healthy.
You're financially healthy, and I used to avoid that you just have a lot of debt and you're not paying down those debts. Are you kind of pressing that the kind of person that if they look at your income versus the debt is not even matching at all? Are you the kind of person that defaults a lot? So there's a lot of things that come into play, and at the end of the day, it accumulates to a score. And depending on the range where your score falls, whichever the lender or whoever wants to loan you money, if you have a good credit, a poor credit, or a bad credit, or you're someone that has gone into bankruptcy before, or you're a delinquent person. So even starting from, let's even do the basic. You want to rent a home, for example. Most landlords are asking for credit score. They want to see your credit score. So in Canada, there are two big companies that most people use, Equifax and TransUnion. And those are the ones that are the credit bureaus, and they are the ones that, if, for example, you have a credit card, you're not paid on time, they'll report you to the credit bureau and it gets registered on your credit report, which is not good. So the more you are defaulting on your payments, the more you are taking on large debts in relation to your income, the lesser your score is. Okay, but if you're someone that you are paying your bills on time, your debt minimum per month, or you have a credit card, for example, and you have a balance, but you make sure you pay that balance by the end of the month or before your next billing cycle, you're not carrying over that balance to the next month, your credit score will go higher. Your credit score will be high. So credit score, you need it for everything. You want to rent a house, you want to get a car, you want to buy a house, and don't say, oh, well, I defaulted last year. It's reported on your credit score, and it takes a long time before that bad instance or bad report falls off your credit report. So the earlier, and again, a lot of things. Let me go back to that person that wants to prove and show big man. You go to a car, in your head, you have this car you want to buy. You go to car dealer A and you say, oh, you want to buy a car, and you check, and you see that, well, they don't really have the color that you like. But those ones are like, okay, before we can even do anything, you need to pull your credit. You'll be like, oh, yeah, sure, pull the credit. The more you're going to every car dealer and you're pulling your credit report, what it tells me as a lender is you're careless. You just hopping from one place to another. So the more you allow people to pull your credit reports, the more your score is going down. Okay? So you just have to be careful. Just take minimal. Even when you start making money, you see a lot of these institutions will tell you, oh, you are eligible for a 10,000 credit card. If you don't need it, you don't need to take it. Or you're eligible for 20,000, because if you know you can manage your funds, fine. But there are some people that, because it's just sitting there, they are tempted to spend it. The thing is, yes, it's sitting on your credit card, but it's still busy. You still have to pay it, and the interest rate is usually high. There are good debts and there are bad debts. But for me, good debt is, okay, I've been able to purchase a home, I have equity in the home. Yes, I paid a mortgage. Not when I'm spending a huge amount of money to buy a car, which is a depreciable asset. There's no equity built in it, just because you want to show. So you just have to be careful. If you can afford it, why not? But if you have to go the extra mile to acquire, the cost of acquiring this asset is way beyond you, please don't do it. The second question that you asked, which was regarding
weather.
What was it? Weather. Canada is cold. Even me, I don't know if you noticed, but I have a cold. I don't know if you can tell the way I've been talking. I have a cold, and I've been here for a very long time. So Canada is cold. Again, there is a province that they don't see snow. If you want to go, it comes at a cost. It's a very expensive province.
Is it Nova Scotia or where?
No, BC, British Columbia, Vancouver.
Ooh.
Yeah, so Anyway, Canada is cold everywhere, but there's some provinces that, the snow they see is way higher than other provinces. So if you are someone that, I don't know, I'm going to, maybe you should just target the ones that they have mild snow. But it doesn't even matter. Everywhere is cold. It's cold. It's cold.
Okay, just like to finish up and to round up, because you mentioned it in your under investment, and I know you do this. I know you also help when it comes to the issue of mortgage and getting a house. I think we can finish on that note tonight.
Yeah.
Of how what options, because you mentioned earlier about those who want to do businesses in Canada. Can they do real estate business in Canada? Is that an opportunity of doing business and getting can like they do, in which is okay, if I bring money and I buy a house, is it a business for me to get Resettle? So can you speak to that and we wrap up tonight?
Real estate doesn't qualify that kind of under the business immigration stream. That's not what they're looking for. So there are other businesses. There's some provinces that would have eligible businesses on their list that you can you can start or purchase. They will print out the eligible ones. They'll print out the ineligible ones. So as long as the business that you have in mind does not fall under the category of, then you are good to go, right? Yeah.
So if somebody says, "Oh, I'm coming to Canada and I want to get a house,"
if you're coming to Canada to come and purchase a house, like just not for business immigration purpose, but just for your own, yes, it's possible. Again, the certain things that we look at, right? What's your status when you're buying that house? How much do you have in down payment? What does your credit score look like? And there's some people that sell properties from back home or any other country and they move the forts, and that enables them to, there are a lot of people, even that I've helped personally, they don't even need mortgage because they sold some properties and so they're able to move. So in that case, that's fine. But if you're someone that you just have minimum funds that you've saved in down payment, the lender wants to look at your credit score. The lender wants to be sure that you have good income, because again, the lender is the person that is loaning you this money, so they need to be sure that every month they are going to be you're going to be able to pay this money back. The different types of mortgages. Again, are you a first-time home buyer? If you're just coming into the country, or let's say you've been in the country for less than 3 years, if you're a first-time home buyer, you've never bought a home before in Canada, there are government programs, that can help you too. So there are benefits in there. In short, the lender just wants to see the full package. Are you credible? Can you pay back? What does your income look like? What does your debt look like? And what does your GDS look like, which is a ratio of what you're making every month versus the debt that you have. Is it minimal? Does it meet the threshold? Does it exceed the threshold? If it exceeds the threshold, you have less lenders that want to jump on your deal. If it's beyond the threshold, then you have a lot of lenders that want to jump off. Another mistake I see a lot of people making, they're in Nigeria, they've got to their permanent residence. Oh, I want to buy a home. And then the first thing you do is you're calling a real estate agent to come and start showing you houses. That's not the first step. The first step you want to make is, how much am I eligible for to purchase a home?
Affordability.
My affordability. And it's not you sitting down. You would submit your documents to a mortgage person. The person will do your review your finances, and then will then assess your application and then tell you, this is the amount you are eligible for. If they tell you are eligible for 450, there's no need telling your realtor to go and be showing you $1 million homes. no lender is going to lend you $1 based on your income and stuff. If you don't want to purchase $1, you better be $1 billion home. You better be discussing with your mortgage agent, and they will come up with strategies on how you can achieve that goal.
Excellent. So the other question, but I think we need to, if we don't wrap it up, we'll be here till next tomorrow.
Exactly.
We'll be here till next tomorrow. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for those of you who have been with us, and you can watch a replay of this either on the YouTube channel or here on Instagram or on my LinkedIn page. For those of you on LinkedIn who have been constant, Babatunde Olanipekun, thank you so much. We can still talk more if there are other things you want to discuss. And those who have also been here on Instagram, thank you for your time. If there are any other questions, just reach out. We'll be able to connect you to Ms. Lillian, the consultant, and you'll be able to bring about. Don't forget, your dreams are valid despite all the issues and everything. Like she's using one right word. If you strategize, there's always a way to add up and make things to work for you. So thank you so much. And I believe that out of this session we had last year and this today's own, and probably maybe there another third one coming up, we don't know now. Whatever session, at least we will see people who will be testimonials of the fact that, oh, I had this goal, I had this dream, I was supported with Resettle in Canada, and now I'm in Canada. And that will be a great testimony that we want to see. So either you are in the UK or you are even in Canada. That's another question I wanted to ask, but we cannot cover now. Because some people are in Canada and they don't have proper documentation, and they're looking for how to regularize, like what is happening in US, of people being deported or people being moved out. That's another issue. Perhaps if you are on this show or you came across this and you are in Canada and you need proper documentation, reach out to us. We'll connect you to Miss Lillian and they can help you to regularize, because you don't know, perhaps the next Prime Minister of Canada might do like Donald Trump and ask everyone to leave. So on that note, we want to thank you very much, everyone. We hope this has been helpful to you, and thank you so much to our guest who has been, and interestingly enough, for these 2 sessions, we've not actually exposed you or asked you the question we asked our guests on the Mentor Show. So perhaps we're going to bring you on the Mentor Show, and that day we will not talk immigration, we will not talk anything, we will talk what we do on the Mentor Show. We'll ask you questions about yourself. That's what we do on the Mentor Show.
I think you did it in the first session.
And we couldn't do it as we would like to, because we had issues that we're looking at. So on that note, thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you again on the Mentor Show. Thank you, Miss Lillian, for being availing yourself on this show. So on that note, so good night and good afternoon anywhere you are watching from. We'll see you again on the Mentor Show. And we are planning to move our Mentor Show to Saturday, hopefully. We are trying to move the show from Tuesday regularly to holding on Saturdays. But we'll still working on that. It's still in the works. We'll let you know what's the final decision. So on that note, bye everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.